Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are embarking on a bit of a hero's journey. We're going to use a masterful ancient text, the Dhammapada, to basically conquer the ultimate modern villain. And by that, I mean the daily, unrelenting chaos of our own minds. If you have ever felt just completely overwhelmed by the constant noise, the stress, and the anxiety of the modern world, well, the wisdom we're about to unpack was built exactly for you.
Okay, let's jump right into the deep end with the core thesis of this 300 BCE Buddhist text. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It's a pretty staggering claim, right? It drops us straight into our quest. You are the hero of this story, and your own mind is the ultimate threshold you've got to cross to find any sort of lasting peace. This isn't just an ancient bumper sticker. It is a total, ground-up reorientation of how we experience reality.
Section 1. The Power of Thought. Mastering the Internal World.
Our journey begins by recognizing a fundamental truth that the Buddha taught over 2 millennia ago. Our internal worldview completely dictates our external reality. Consider the text's famous twin verses metaphor about the thatched house. An unreflecting mind lets in destructive passions effortlessly, just like torrential rain leaking through a broken roof. We experience this literally every day. Maybe it's doom scrolling first thing in the morning, or letting a single negative comment completely ruin your entire week. The rain just pours in. Contrast that with a well-thatched house. A mindful, reflecting brain stays perfectly secure and dry, no matter what kind of inevitable storms life throws at it.
The text warns us that absolutely everything we do is driven by our thoughts. If you hold on to thoughts like, he beat me, or they wronged me, your suffering is never going to stop. Today, that might look like replaying a bad meeting 100 times in your head, or, holding on to a petty grudge against a coworker. Pain follows that mindset relentlessly, exactly like a wheel follows the foot of the ox pulling the cart. But if you cultivate pure thoughts, happiness follows you everywhere like a shadow that never leaves your side.
Section 2. Life's Perennial Struggle. Facing the Unmanageable.
Here is where we hit the hero's call to adventure. It's the realization that because of all these unruly thoughts, our daily existence gets incredibly chaotic and painful. We call this the perennial struggle. It's this lifelong inner tug-of-war between light and shadow, and the stark reality that our passions make life profoundly unmanageable. And here's what you really need to take away from this. The struggle is not a flaw in your character. It is a fundamental feature of the human condition, and it's exactly the path you must walk. Fascinatingly, this directly mirrors step 1 of the modern 12-step recovery framework, openly admitting that our lives have become unmanageable.
So what's actually causing all this ongoing friction? Well, it happens when we get trapped by our own distorted thoughts. We act like mere prisoners of our circumstances, locked safely away inside these self-made, rigid boxes of our own egos and opinions. We're constantly looking for quick pleasures with completely uncontrolled senses. The Dhammapada warns us about Mara, the ancient tempter of distraction. If you live entirely for uncontrolled pleasure, forever chasing the next dopamine hit, Mara is going to toss you around like a weak tree in a violent storm.
Section 3. Ancient Wisdom. Modern Journey. Mapping the Steps.
Now this is where it gets really cool. Let's see how this ancient philosophy builds into a highly practical, modern toolkit. It's absolutely fascinating how perfectly these two worlds align. The Buddha's ancient wisdom commands us to carefully monitor our thoughts. Jump thousands of years forward to the modern 12 Steps to a Good Life framework, and watching yourself carefully maps flawlessly onto Step 4, taking a searching and fearless personal inventory, and Step 10, which is continuing that inventory to maintain daily awareness. The human mind hasn't changed in 2.5 millennia, and the psychological solution remains incredibly consistent.
Section 4. Mastering the Self. The Hero's Trials.
To truly escape the perennial struggle, our hero, and yes, that means you, must face the greatest trial of all, mastering your own unruly ego and desires. The text hits us with a question that honestly kind of stops you in your tracks. Self is the Lord of self. Who else could be the Lord? It is a radical call to personal responsibility. Purity and impurity belong entirely to you. You do the evil, you suffer. You leave the evil undone, you're purified. Nobody else is coming to magically fix this for you. No one else can do the psychological push-ups for you.
So how do we get this control? The wise person takes highly actionable steps. First, rousing oneself through earnestness, basically waking up to your own life and actually paying attention. Second, exercising restraint. And third, making oneself an island. By doing this, you're building a fortress of inner peace.
When the external floods of vanity, social media chaos, and petty daily drama come rushing in, your island simply cannot be overwhelmed. You remain the calm center in the storm.
The text gives us a pretty stark wake-up call here. It tells us that earnestness is the path of immortality and thoughtlessness is the path of death. It literally says, the earnest do not die, while the thoughtless are basically dead already. Think about that for a second. If you're just wandering aimlessly through life on autopilot, entirely controlled by passing whims, endless notifications, and automated reactions, are you truly living?
Section 5. The Eightfold Way. The Path to Purity.
So how do we actually walk this path once we've finally woken up? What's the method? Well, the Buddha lays out the ultimate refuge by giving us his bests. The best of ways is the Eightfold Way. The best of truths are the 4 words. The best of virtues is a mind completely free from unchecked destructive passion. And the best of people? He who has the eyes to truly see reality for what it is. He's emphasizing that this Eightfold Way is the primary, reliable path to purifying our intelligence and finally putting an end to our self-inflicted pain.
I love this quote because it's a harsh but super necessary reality check. You yourself must make an effort. The Buddhas are only preachers. You can't just passively consume this explainer, nod your head at the profound wisdom, and expect your life to magically change overnight. The mentors and the great teachers can show you the map, but you, as the hero of this journey, must put in the hard daily work to actually walk the path.
Section 6. Making the World Better. The Hero's Return.
Having fought and conquered the internal dragons of the mind, it's time for the final stage of the hero's journey. Returning home to change the world with the wisdom you've gained. We have all felt that deep helplessness of being totally overwhelmed by massive, unsolvable global problems flashing across our screens. But the wisdom of Step 12 calls us to translate our newly found inner peace into outward, tangible action. You don't do this by getting paralyzed by the weight of the world. You do it by starting small, right in your own neighborhood, with acts of real, hands-on kindness. Clean up your street, help a neighbor, fix a broken relationship. You bring order to the world by first bringing order to yourself.
By mastering our own egos and our own thoughts, we break our internal cycle of suffering. And once we've finally done that, it unlocks a beautiful, timeless rule from the Dhammapada. For hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. We can only bring this genuine compassion into a desperate, chaotic world once our own minds are well thatched and secure.
All right, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with 2 pretty big questions to chew on. Who is the Lord of yourself? And what step are you on right now? Think about these questions as you step back out into the perennial struggle of your own beautiful, epic journey. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and fully embrace the adventure of mastering your own mind.